Imagine the scene, a quiet classroom. A student gives a wrong answer and for 1 second everyone looks at them. Their face barely changes, but something is already tightening inside. And that is exactly where many teachers, without meaning to, damage what they are trying to build. Because before correcting a student, there are 5 simple reflexes that nobody teaches, even though they can prevent shame, avoid emotional shutdown, and protect trust. And once you understand them, you will never look at classroom correction the same way again. Welcome to Teacher's Mind. I'm Christian Kalu. Today, we are going to understand why correcting a student too quickly can hurt them more than we imagine, and above all, the 5 reflexes to have before any correction in order to avoid shame, emotional shutdown, and broken trust. I know what you may be thinking. Correcting helps bring the student back in line. Listen to me. The problem is not correcting. Correcting is part of the job, but the real problem is correcting a student before protecting their dignity. Because a humiliated student does not learn in the same way anymore. An exposed student does not listen with the same brain, and a student who feels put down sometimes stops thinking and starts defending themselves. And when that happens, correction no longer becomes a learning tool. It becomes an emotional memory. So that you understand, let's present the most common theory. A good teacher corrects quickly. They see the mistake, they stop it, they correct it, they move on. Many people think that quick correction shows seriousness and authority, and sometimes from the outside it seems to work. The student goes quiet, they nod, the class moves forward, and yet, that reading is incomplete. Because the silence that follows is not always a sign of understanding. It is often a sign of withdrawal, and that is where the classic model is wrong. It treats the mistake like a simple intellectual problem, even though, in class, a mistake is also a social event. It happens in front of people's eyes, in a shared space, inside a brain that is already monitoring its place. Scientific research has been conducted, and what they discovered surprised a lot of people. The CDC's work on school connectedness shows that students who feel genuinely connected to school have better mental health outcomes and fewer risks. Other research in educational psychology has shown that emotional safety and the teacher-student relationship directly influence participation, perseverance, and the ability to take cognitive risks. In other words, a student does not learn only with their intelligence. They also learn with their nervous system. And when that system senses threat, even a slight one, it reduces openness, curiosity, and boldness. That is why a correction can either illuminate or shut down. And here is the main revelation. Before correcting a student, you must first do this. Protect the person who made the mistake. This is the quiet knowledge that many good teachers use without always being able to put it into words. They know that before adjusting the content, they must stabilize the student's inner state. They know that a humiliated student does not listen with the same brain anymore. They know that a wrong answer is not dangerous, but feeling put down in front of others can be. And this is where the 5 reflexes come in. First, observe the student. Then, assess their level of tension. Then, create micro-safety. After that, establish a micro-connection. And finally, only then, correct with precision. I repeat, dear teachers, observe, assess, secure, connect, correct. But this is where it becomes even more interesting, because these reflexes are tiny from the outside. Sometimes they last only a second. They require neither a big technique nor a big speech, and yet they change everything. Observing means looking at the student before looking at the mistake, seeing their face, their eyes, their posture. Assessing means asking yourself, are they still available, or are they already defending themselves? Securing means sending a brief signal. You made a mistake, but you are not in danger with me. Connecting means creating a human bridge before touching the content, and correcting, finally, means addressing the mistake without breaking the momentum, the dignity, or the courage. In practice, here is what that looks like. Now imagine 2 almost identical scenes. In the first one, a student answers incorrectly, and the teacher immediately says, "No, not at all, you understood nothing." Technically, the mistake is corrected, but something closes. The student lowers their eyes slightly. The class saw it. Now, in the second scene, the same student makes a mistake, and the teacher responds, "I see what you were trying to do. Just look right here. This is where it changes." There too, the mistake is corrected, and yet, the effect is completely different. In one case, the correction touches the person before the reasoning. In the other, it protects the person so that the reasoning can progress. That detail seems tiny. In reality, it often decides what happens next. Because a student who feels protected can keep thinking, whereas a student who feels exposed mainly starts defending themselves. Listen, you are not just observing this mechanism. You are part of it. You probably remember certain corrections more than certain lessons, don't you? Not necessarily the exact words, but the feeling. The moment when your face gets hot. The moment when you realize that the others saw. The moment when you promise yourself internally to speak less next time. That is what many adults underestimate. A correction does not enter only into school memory. It also enters emotional memory. And that memory then influences speech and confidence even in other areas of life. That being said, there is an even deeper layer. When a teacher corrects without safety, the student does not only learn something about the exercise, they also learn something about themselves. They may begin to associate error with humiliation, participation with danger, speaking with social risk. Little by little, they become more cautious, more closed, more silent. On the outside, this may look like calm. On the inside, it is withdrawal. On the other hand, when a teacher corrects with these 5 reflexes, the student learns a different truth. They learn that they can make a mistake without losing their dignity, that they can be corrected without being reduced, that they can remain whole while they improve. And that lesson is worth more than the content itself. There is also an important warning. Many teachers think that high standards and gentleness oppose each other. They believe that protecting the student means weakening the correction. In reality, it is the opposite. A well-prepared correction is more demanding because it is heard more clearly. It does not avoid the mistake. It simply makes it bearable. And if this truth is ignored, the risk is simple. We think we are forming a stronger student, when perhaps we are merely teaching that student to dare less, answer less, risk themselves less. So the danger is not only hurting a student's feelings in the moment. The danger is slowly building a classroom where people speak less, try less, and think less. So, dear teachers, before correcting a student, observe them, then assess their inner state, then create micro-safety, establish a micro-connection, and only after that, correct with precision. These 5 reflexes are simple, and yet, they change the emotional temperature of an entire classroom. Because deep down, we do not teach only with what we say. We also teach with the way we treat someone at the very moment they make a mistake. And that may be the difference between a teacher who delivers content and a teacher students never forget. So the next time a student gives a wrong answer in front of everyone, do not rush. Take 1 to 3 seconds. 2 at most can be enough. And ask yourself this question: am I about to correct a mistake, or am I about to hurt trust? Tell me in the comments which of these 5 reflexes seems hardest for you to apply. And do not forget, to teach is to nourish a soul. And if this video helped you, share it with a teacher, with a parent who needs it. And subscribe to Teacher's Mind.